Hello and welcome to the absolutely stunning Wast Water in the Lake District. Now when you first arrive at this place you instantly think ultra wide angle lens because you've got the rock formations in the foreground with rock pools that have got nice brown colours in them. You've obviously got the lake as the main, and then you've got the mountains in the background and the fairly dramatic sky. So you know, you're thinking 14mm, 16mm, something like that to get everything from right in front of the camera to that sky all in the shot. But do you really need one? Because I mean, these things are expensive. It's about £1,000 or so, and if I'm being honest, it rarely comes out of my bag. So it's a lot of money for something that doesn't get a whole lot of use. So can we do the same job with a 24mm standard lens, standard zoom lens, and stitch the images together and see how we get on? Well, let's find out. Okay, so the composition I've got set up is with this little rock pool that has this lovely brown colour to it, and with the circular polariser on we're really seeing through that water and getting that nice rich colour in the foreground of our photo. We've then got these grey rocks just in front of me, the lake in the sort of mid-ground, mountains in the background and sky in the background as well. Really, really nice. And all we're going to do is start with our first shot angled right down here to get this little rock pool in the shot. Now what I'm going to do is I've got the camera in manual mode, so all of my settings are going to be fixed. We're at f9, 13-second exposure, ISO 100. We will have to change the focus point, so we're going to focus on these rocks at the 2-second time rod just to get a bit of stability and take that shot. Now most of what I want to capture is within a sort of fairly vertical range, but it's too much to really do a portrait shot. I want a bit wider as well, so I could do, I suppose, a pano, 3 shots across, that could work, but I don't think it'll quite get this foreground in. Now we're going to move it up, trying very carefully to keep it in line, check for level, and we're going to refocus on those rocks and take the shot. Now I'm leaving all the settings the same, 13-second exposure, f9. When I got back into post, merging these two images was the same as any other panoramic image in Lightroom. The only difference with this one was that I chose to use perspective instead of my usual cylindrical method of projection, just because I found this made a bit more sense with this image. It worked a little bit better after exploring the 3 options. After this, it was just my usual cropping, straightening the waterline, putting an edit on, the usual sorts of things. All very straightforward for this one really, much easier than I expected it to be. Now I actually really like this image, possibly more than the one I took with my ultra-wide 14mm lens, which I'll put up later for a comparison between the two. Now although I do have an ultra-wide angle lens, I've literally got the 14-30 sitting in the camera bag just over there. This is solving a very real world problem for me, and that's because at 14mm, with the circular polariser and the ND filter on, I was starting to get some vignetting at the corners. Now you could solve this by buying new filters, don't really want to do that. The other thing was I don't have a 10-stop ND for my ultra-wide. Maybe I could get one, but I'm here and there isn't one inside. So working with what I've got, 24mm, I've been able to put my 10-stop ND on, and that's got my shutter speed down from that ½ second or a second, which wasn't really enough to smooth out that water, to now 13 seconds at the same f-stop, which is working really well. So I've got the options and I'm still choosing to do this, but if you don't happen to have the lenses, then this is a great option for you as well. Now I'm not going to say that this will exactly replicate the image that you get from an ultra wide angle lens, just because that 14 or 16mm focal length has quite a distinctive look to it. You know, just because you're capturing so much information, you're almost starting to get towards a fisheye at that point, which has a distinctive look, and this isn't going to replicate that. But you know, it can give you pretty good results, and if you don't happen to have your ultra-wide lens or you don't own one, then this is a very good substitute, and I think that's really going to work as a photo, and it saved me my problems with my filters. So for me, it saved the day really. Now I know someone's probably thinking, why don't you just do a portrait panoramic shot? Well, let's give it a go. If we switch this into portrait, and now we can angle down a fraction to get that rock pool, but now, by the time I get low enough, we're losing most of that sky. Also, at this sort of angle, doing a panoramic is going to be a bit of a challenge. You see, that is the problem. I now just haven't got that whole mountain range in the shot. So I'll take the same shot, but with a panoramic, and I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as good as stitching these together, but let's give it a try. So in the end, I just couldn't get enough height with the 24mm lens to get the rock pool and the sky into the shot
without taking 4 separate portrait shots. This made merging a lot more difficult back in Lightroom. I'm certain that with enough time and playing around with the 4 images, this would work and produce a good result, but for me, it was just too much post-processing work. After some time, I had an image with lots of errors, where it hadn't quite stitched together properly, so I ended up cropping it down to a mostly usable area for an image that wasn't much different to the first one, but a bit worse. So I'd either stick to taking 2 or 3 images side by side, similar to a panoramic shot, or expect to do a lot of work in post-processing.
Alright, so what I'll do now is I'll put the ultra wide 14-30 on, we'll take a few shots with that, we'll work with the filters and things that we've got, and then I'll put them both on the screen and you can decide which one's right for you. You know, maybe you do need that ultra wide. If you work around seascapes a lot, that's the reason I bought it, then it is useful. And if you're not smoothing out the water doing the long exposures, then it can become a bit of a pain trying to merge the images and combine them all in post. So maybe it is worthwhile for you, but at least you'll go into it knowing whether it's the one you need, or whether you'd be better off going with a long lens, which, to be honest, if I think you're mostly in the mountains or not doing seascapes too much, is probably the route to go down before you go and get your ultra wide. If you're deciding between the two, that's what I'd go for. Now, I do truly believe that adding foreground interest into your images is one of the easiest ways to improve your photography. It takes it from being just a shot that someone would take on their phone to being something a bit more thoughtful that a photographer would take. So either getting yourself the ultra wide angle lens or learning this technique would definitely help you, definitely improve your images, and it's definitely worth doing. Now, of course, using an ultra wide angle lens isn't the only way to get foreground into your shots. It's photography. There are many ways to achieve a good result. Here we've got these rocks that lead out into the lake and then lead your eye into the fells in the background, the dramatic sky, and they're all lit up at the moment with sort of midday sun, bit of light in the sort of valley, lead your eye out to the sky as well. Looking wonderful, I've got to say. But what we can do with this is we can get our normal lens, our 24-200, and we're going to go for a portrait. So we're just hand holding here to find out what works best. I really like that as a sort of leading line. Don't really like the land encroaching on it from the left, I've got to say. Okay, so now I've finished hand holding. I've worked out the best position is sort of down at sort of this level, sort of almost knee height. So let's get the tripod set up and see what we can do. I really like having that sort of valley that runs up the cliff. Lead your eye into the sky. That's working well. So there's a bit of a choice to make here. I can either have a slight rock encroaching on the left hand side of the frame, or I can have the valley sort of running up to the sky. I don't know which one is the best option, to be honest. Alright, so I've made a decision. We're going to have the rock sort of jutting in from the left hand side just into the left of frame. I don't like it on the edge of the shot. I don't like it. Maybe we clone it out. I don't like doing that either, but I really do like the light that's on that valley and the sort of river that leads up to the top, to the sky, where all that moody sky is. So I really like that. I think it's the lesser of two evils, really. And I think it's going to be quite a good shot either way. I'm just going to wait for that light to come back and then we'll take the shot. It's going to be a focus stack, probably focusing one just on these rocks, one in the middle, one probably on the fells in the background. And we're at 135 mil. So this one is including this foreground, nice leading line all the way up to the top, working really well. You don't need the ultra wide for this. It's just a different way of incorporating that foreground. And it also, being that longer lens, compresses that scene a bit as well. So it makes everything look a little bit closer together than it really is, which maybe it's what you want, maybe it isn't. Maybe you want to convey the scale of the place, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Well, I'm pleased to say that after a 20-minute wait or so, the light has returned and that's looking as stunning as when I first saw it. Lesson learned, get the shot first, then you don't have to wait around rather than faffing around with video and all that sort of thing. But that is looking fantastic. Nice 20-second exposure. Water's nice and flat. We're going to do a quick 10-second just to capture the detail in the sky, which is looking really moody. There's a few patches of blue sky, but the clouds are looking fantastic. Let's get these shots, we'll merge them all together.
To be honest, I'm not sure this image really works, and I wasn't sure whether to include it in the video or not. But I do think it's important to sometimes include the failures, and then we can examine why they didn't work and try and learn something from it. So what went wrong with this one? Well, I really like the top half. The light on the fells and that stream running down work really well, but the rocks in the bottom don't really create enough of a leading line for me. They're too scattered around the frame. Also, I still don't like those rocks jutting into the frame on the left hand side, and the rock in the very bottom left is too close to the edges for my liking. The water also looks very dull. I could fix this in post, but with all the other flaws, I'm not sure it's really worth it. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
Well, I think we've had the best of the light here now. The cloud cover's coming quite thick, sort of late afternoon, and supposedly sunset this time of year at this location isn't the best. So setting up for one last shot. Hopefully we'll just get a little bit more light on Great Gable down at the end of the lake. So composition we've set up for is with the island in the middle, and we've got that bang in line with the sort of centre of the Great Gable at the end, and then the mountains on either side are coming in from left and right of the shot. And it's composition I'm quite liking. Just waiting for, hopefully, one last little bit of light just on that big mountain at the end, just to set the shot off, and we'll get that shot in the bag. Quite easy otherwise. F11, be a focus stack, one on the island, one on the mountain. 20-second exposure with the ND and the circular polarizer on. Really bit of a theme for today, but yeah, hope you like it. Well, I've got to say that this is an amazing place, but it is one where I've really struggled to get some good compositions, to be honest. It's been hard work. And I think that's maybe me being here at the wrong time of year. I think this place is better at winter, when the sun sort of sets a bit further round. You can get those sunrises and sunsets. I suppose that's the same in most places, to be honest. But yeah, hopefully I can come back in winter and get some other shots. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the images. If you have, give the video a quick like. Consider subscribing, so I have my other content, and I hope to see you soon.